All right, Pops, Ford was one of the first automakers to make moves in the industry, suggesting that maybe their relationship with car dealers is going to change. Ford Model E, Ford Blue, two different divisions, all that fun stuff. Kind of getting rid of dealers, kind of not. Well, now, Dad, we have 29 Ford dealers dropping out of Ford's Model E EV program, and we also have the governor of the state of Mississippi signing bills that should protect car dealers for years to come. What is going on here, Dad? What's the news with Ford first?
Well, with Ford, they made some changes to the program after they instituted the program, and at least 29 of those Ford dealers said, you know what? You really shouldn't be changing the rules in the middle of the game, so we're out. Okay. And there were two levels. There was the elite level or whatever. I don't know. There was one level that was going to cost you $1.2 million, and the other level was like $600,000, and you were limited to the number of EVs you'd get in a year.
And this is the investment just to have the privilege to sell Ford EVs, no haggle pricing, no inventory or limited inventory, limits to the number of vehicles that you could sell. Lots of pushback nationwide from dealers, but now we are seeing some that had agreed to go through with this say, what the heck are you doing? We're dropping out. Ford came out last year, Dad, with an ultimatum for their dealers. I think it was back, they said it was going to be in November, then It was in December. You're in, you're out. The next buy-in option is going to be a couple of years from now. And now we're going to see lawsuits come out of this because these dealer groups and also these state dealer associations are saying, what the hell is this? This is not, you don't tell us how many cars we can sell. You give us inventory and we go sell the damn things.
Hey, you can get 25% off with our car buying help just by saying Gold 25.
And Dad, good news. You can also save $100 on an extended warranty. Use Gold 100. Offer ends at the end of the month. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, saving of the gold for everybody concerned. The lower level of the two where you'll get no more than 25 EVs a year to sell. Why would you make the $600,000 investment so that you get 25 cars to sell that, according to people that we talk to in the industry, have a very little margin built into them, so there's hardly any profit in the vehicle. They don't break down as much, which is really unusual for a Ford. So they don't require as much maintenance. So you're not going to get service work out of these vehicles. What's the point? I keep thinking about it, and I can't come up with a real good reason to say, okay, if you're going to limit the amount of cars that we can have, then I'm not in. Whether we're the lower tier or the higher tier, you shouldn't limit the number of cars that we get. That should be based on what our market demands, not on what you limit us with. So, yeah, I get why dealers are pushing back. And so, yeah, 29 dropped out of the program after they said they were going to be part of the program.
29 dropped out of the top tier, 53 dropped out of that certified tier. Now, Dad, a couple pieces of information. I'm just going to read straight from Automotive News. This comes from Sean Mercer, one of the attorneys that is representing one of the groups that is looking to pursue legal action. Quote, the dealers waited to see what changes Ford would make to the Model E program at NADA, the National Automobile Dealers Association, and unfortunately, those changes were insufficient to address the dealers' concerns. It was not enough to address the unlawful aspects of the program or to remove the valid concerns about excessive intrusion by Ford into dealers' day-to-day operations. In the petition, the dealers allege the voluntary program is illegal since it would prohibit those who do not opt in from selling EVs in the future. The dealers also are not pleased with various sales practices they would be required to implement if they joined the program, including setting no-haggle prices and offering remote pickup and delivery. Quote, through the EV program, Ford seeks to coerce dealers into expending huge sums of money unnecessarily in order to continue selling vehicles they are already authorized to sell, the dealers wrote. Quote, Ford's EV program will serve to reduce the number of Ford dealers in North Carolina and further restrict consumer access to EVs, particularly those citizens residing in parts of North Carolina outside the largest cities. We have a push, a very organized push from OEMs to try and manipulate the way that dealerships work. You have this happening in Europe right now, and you have this happening here in the States. Ford's approach, the way that they have done this, and they've been very bold. Farley has been very bold in how he has approached this. I don't want to say it's backfiring because, they still have a couple thousand, 1,500 dealers that are in their program, but there's a lot of pushback on it. And I think it's because of the rules that they are trying to put in place. They're trying to change a lot of variables at once. And you see these very powerful dealer groups coming together and saying, you know what? We don't want to play by those rules.
And if you're a dealer and you've made millions of dollars of investments in your facilities and your real estate, I understand why they would say that. And the big thing for them is the no-haggle pricing, which would take away their ability to do market adjustments, market price adjustments. So it wouldn't bother me if dealers agreed to not have market adjustments on these vehicles. I mean, it would be nice at a certain point if we tried to do something that would positively impact American consumers. So I give Ford corporate credit for trying to do that with the no-haggle pricing. I denounce the dealers that are opposed to that aspect of this. But my concern, if I was a dealer, would be the limited number of vehicles that I'm going to get that have, a very limited profit margin. So what's the point?
And the pay-to-play aspect. So, okay, I spend $600,000 to get the 25 car. Just the math doesn't pencil. I mean, obviously, over a longer time horizon, maybe it does, but still. Now, Dad, at the same time that we have this Ford news, the dealers backing out of Ford Model E, we have Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves signing legislation this past week. It was approved by the legislature earlier in the month. A new law will prohibit vehicle manufacturers from, quote, owning, operating, or controlling their own dealerships. There's a carve-out in the law for Tesla. So we see, Dad, at a state level.
And if I may, Zach, that carve-out for Tesla is for their one and only Tesla center in Mississippi, and that will be the only one they can have. They'll be limited to that one. So
you're seeing on a state-by-state level the digging of heels in that, dealers are not going to go anywhere. OEMs are going to try and push, and it's going to be in a very expensive battle for them. And even for Tesla, an organization that sells direct to consumer, they're getting some limitations put on themselves as well. So it's an interesting time. You've got the Ford dealers pushing back. You've got state legislatures and elected officials being lobbied by the dealers associations. And then you have OEMs who drastically want to change their business models because they see the opportunity for more efficiency and better customer experiences.
Yes. And
that's a weird mix.
And in the state of Mississippi, the state has decided that they would rather protect the interest of the 200 franchise dealers in the state rather than the consumers in the state. Okay, because by passing this legislation and by the governor signing it, you're pretty much guaranteeing that business will continue as usual. And as we know, in many cases, as usual means, as a dealer, we get to take advantage of the customers because there is no transparency. There is no real competition to get us to change our business practices, and this law sees to it that there won't be any competition to get us to change our business practices. So it's a win for business, and it's a slap in the face for the consumers in the state of Mississippi. It's just that simple.